They didn't just take away the swings. They stole the heart of our neighborhood, and they thought no one would fight back. But they underestimated a mother with a memory, a retired cop with a folder, and a quiet community ready to erupt. It all started on a foggy Tuesday morning, the kind where the air is thick with silence, and I walked my granddaughter down to the little park nestled between Maple Ridge and Cedar Grove, just like we had every week since she could toddle, only to find yellow caution tape wrapped around the jungle gym like it was a crime scene. A cheap laminated sign flapped in the wind, closed until further notice, HOA. No explanation, no timeline, nothing, just closed. A few other neighbors gathered, equally confused, equally angry. One father muttered that his kids cried all night when they saw the sign. A grandmother from 2 streets over said her husband helped build that playground back in '92, donating his weekends to haul mulch and paint fences. For nearly 30 years, it had been more than just swings and slides. It was the place where friendships formed, where secrets were whispered, where arguments were settled over tetherball and tag. And now, without warning, it was gone. The next HOA meeting was packed, standing room only, and the board looked rattled. Especially the president, Linda Crayford, who always wore oversized sunglasses indoors and carried herself like she was managing a Fortune 500 company instead of 126 suburban homes. She claimed the closure was for liability concerns, citing equipment degradation and insurance issues. But when I asked for inspection reports or actual documentation, she deflected, said it was pending review. Something didn't add up, so I started digging. I used to be a paralegal before I retired, and I know how paper trails work. I requested the HOA's last 5 years of budgets, insurance claims, and maintenance records. They delayed, ignored, then finally sent me a heavily redacted PDF that raised more questions than answers. There was no mention of the playground in the maintenance logs for the past 2 years, but over $22,000 had been allocated to landscape upgrades that no one in the neighborhood had ever seen. So where did the money go? I called around to local contractors, cross-checked invoices, and found something strange: an estimate for removal of play structures, dated 3 weeks before the closure notice was posted. But wait, it gets worse. I bumped into Harry Jensen, a retired police officer who lives on Birch Lane, and told him what I was finding. He raised an eyebrow and invited me over. Turns out, he'd been tracking HOA decisions for years, keeping detailed notes meticulous, typed logs with dates, names, and observations. He handed me a manila folder that included a photo of Linda meeting privately at the park one evening, with a man wearing a Windmere Commercial Construction polo shirt. Guess who owns that company? Her cousin. And guess who submitted a bid just days before the closure to repurpose the playground space into a community meditation garden? That same company. The bid price? Just over $45,000. The kicker? The entire project was marked as approved pending board vote, but no such vote had ever been brought to a public meeting. They were planning to demolish it quietly and funnel the job to her relative under the radar. At this point, I knew I couldn't fight them alone, so I did something I hadn't done in years. I made noise. I posted everything: photos, documents, budget breakdowns on the neighborhood Facebook group. Within 24 hours, it had over 300 comments. Parents were furious. Seniors were heartbroken. Someone even started printing flyers and walking them door to door. The pressure built fast, and the HOA tried to control the narrative, sending out a formal letter claiming misinformation and conspiracy theories. But it was too late. We knew the truth. We demanded a special meeting, per our bylaws, and forced a vote. The day of that meeting, you could feel the tension in the air, like an approaching storm. Over 70 residents showed up. Linda tried to run the agenda as if nothing had happened, but when it was my turn to speak, I laid out everything step by step with visual aids, timelines, and the contractor connection. Then Harry stood and read from his logs, his voice steady and deliberate. Finally, a young father named Marcus stood up, holding his toddler, and said something I'll never forget. "We trusted you to protect this neighborhood, not profit off it." The room went silent. Then the shouting started. A board member broke ranks and motioned for a vote of no confidence. Within minutes, Linda was removed as president. We froze the project, demanded a third-party audit, and formed a new committee, including parents, seniors, and even a teenager from the high school journalism club to oversee community projects with full transparency. And the playground? We rallied. Local businesses donated supplies. Neighbors volunteered time, and within 6 weeks, we reopened it better than ever new mulch, repainted structures, and a fresh plaque at the gate that reads, "By the people, for the kids." That playground wasn't just saved, it was reborn, because we remembered what too many forget. The HOA works for us, not the other way around. And when people stand together, no matter how quiet the betrayal, the truth always comes out, and it echoes louder than any lie.